Forgetting Ashville is an actual play Chronicles of Darkness podcast set in the fictional New England town of Ashville. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. Content warnings can be found in the show notes. We've talked at our table about safety, comfort, and consent, both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same, so listener discretion is advised. Now let's forget our troubles. Last time on Forgetting Ashville, Aviva prepared a dead man's breakfast to refresh the group. Jesse and Dan went to the Hysial to gather essence and make a deal with the spirit Watcher in Branches. In exchange for a ritual to bring others into the Hysial, Watcher in Branches shared the location of the Becheloux and demanded that the Uratha kill the Magath known as Rot's Caress. After learning more about the final girl, John, Aviva, and Lola summoned a victim of the Order of the Toolmaker. After gathering intel on the cult, they helped the ghost to find peace. Jesse scouted and found a strange eldritch tower hidden amongst many realms.
It has a very distinct look in the Hysial. That vision is not necessarily reflected in the physical world.
Yes. You get the concept, you get the idea that maybe the reason that you can see it in the Hysial, you know that it is here in this layer of reality, in the material plane. You get the impression that maybe the reason you can see it is your mind is conceptualizing that it is the reflected idea of whatever this thing is, even though at your core you know that it's not so much an idea as it just is.
But whatever it is in both places.
It is, yes, at least.
Or at least the physical world masks being able to see it in a way that the Hysial does not.
Exactly. That's a reasonable assumption to make.
Aside from that,
yes.
Does he see anything else looking across related to the Becheloux?
You definitely see that the gauntlet seems to be weakening out at that old, holding area.
Weak enough to cross over?
Not yet, but it probably will be soon.
Okay.
Other than that, around here, you do see, spirits of industry and a few spirits of faith. Or belief, or however you want to conceptualize it. The last thing that you see, because you're taking your time here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got the successes on the investigation.
In fact, actually, I think what Jesse is going to do is he's not even going to bother going to the quarry to change to the Hysial.
Okay.
He's just going to very carefully stalk around the area in the physical, find spots to view, and take his time to peer into the Hysial.
Roll me a dex stealth.
Four successes.
4 successes means you manage to slink around the area, creep around without being spotted. Occasionally you stop because you see workers, just physical, regular workers, coming to and from the factory, maybe taking a smoke break or a late lunch. And you go around more towards the building, towards the woods line, towards the forest line. The last spirits that you see on the other side are spirits of pain. They mostly, the pain and the faith spirits and the machine spirits, most of the spirits that exist seem to exist in this sort of I'm not getting too close, but this is where I want to be state towards the main factory floor. Not like they're drawn to the locust but are nervous to go to the watering hole, but more whatever is there, I don't want to go there. But also that is the source of the essence from the material plane that is feeding me.
It's like a weird relationship of flies to a light.
Yes.
Or bug zapper or something.
If they get too close, that's the impression you get. And then around towards where the building where you believe the Becheloux to be, you do, with your previous investigation and unseen through your stealth, you see rats start to move.
Now, one other thing Jesse's looking for. Are there any other abandoned buildings in the area?
Several. Ashville.
What he specifically is looking for is a route that he could possibly take if he was to stir up that nest of Becheloux to get them to chase him. They might not go after a pack of us, but if they see one maybe injured Uratha, they might try to get him. And what I'm specifically trying to find is a complicated building in which I could maybe lead them to and trap them within.
Roll me a wits survival.
Wow.
Oops, all once.
5 successes.
5 successes is an exceptional success. So once upon a time, when Ashville was a better place, occasionally businesses come and go, and there was an attempt at following that fad of like, hey, this is like a bounce house. There's like kids can come here and do birthday parties. Like, not a Chuck E. Cheese so much as a like the place that has all the tunnels and slides and ball pits and climbing walls and stuff.
Fizz Kids.
A Fizz Kids, yeah. But like when it went out of business, because obviously it went out of business, this is Ashville, they just for like, it was cheaper to leave all the crap there than it was to ship it away. Part of the reason it failed, besides the fact that this is Asheville, is the cheapest location where they could presumably turn the best profit was in a part of the old like strip mall across from the factory area. But nobody wanted to have their birthday parties near the factory because of like the smelting smell, and it sucked. So that building is just right there, and it's been empty for years.
Closer inspection of that. Are some of the pain and faith and industry spirits near that building?
No, they seem mostly clustered around the main factory floor.
So that it's just far enough that that building is abandoned.
Yes.
And that any spirits that are there are probably long asleep.
Probably. You know, at one time you can
reduced
imagine
back down to Muthra.
You can imagine that at one point there were, you know, spirits of fun and joy and all sorts of like stuff.
The building itself is probably has fond memories of that time, but has since fallen asleep. And
it has been a long time since any of that was relevant.
Jesse will memorize paths between where the Beshlu are hiding and this location.
With exceptional success, no problem.
And he's going to kind of devise a path that he can take to run from one location to the other and lead a large group of rats on a wild Uratha chase.
Sure.
After he's sufficiently happy with the scouting that he's done, he's going to slink off and head back to meet up with everybody else.
Aviva and John, you are also making preparations to do this. What are you guys doing?
The first thing that John does is he's going to place a call to Ernie and check on him, let him know that he's doing good, that he's catching up with some friends, that Ernie gave stellar advice, and just kind of apologize for not being back sooner.
2 things. Ernie seems thrilled that you listened, that you're spending time with friends, that you're out of the house, that you're doing things that aren't what to his perception is brooding alone. He also sounds awful. He sounds like he coughs more. He sounds weak. He chides you for like dropping out of contact for a week, but in that like, good for you, you shouldn't be calling me all the time kind of way. But overall, seems very positive that you are making strides towards not being alone. The weakness might be part of why he seems so happy that you aren't just relying on him.
John tries to not show it and kind of keep the conversation positive on a good note, just in case it's, just in case this is one of the last few times they can talk about this sort of thing. But by the time the conversation's over, he sort of just puts the phone down, pours himself a cup of coffee, and looks around the house. Who's here?
Right now, just Aviva.
John approaches Aviva with a pot and a mug, kind of gesturing to her in case she wants some coffee while they wait.
Yes, thank you.
He pours some out, sit next to her. So, no.
What?
No, I can't. Just
What? What's the thing?
Ernie. He was just, having a bad day in terms of coughing.
Do you want to go check in on him?
I can't.
Why not?
We're so limited for time. I have a lot to cast, and I have to do it exactly right, which means I have to take a lot of time.
Do you want me to check on him? I mean, I don't really know what I could do other than, I guess, maybe deliver some food or something. I don't really know what would help.
We agreed that we wouldn't go places alone.
Yeah.
So, until at least the Bachelor were dealt with, we're in a little bit of a bind. But as soon as it's done, I'm going to go ahead and check on him. We all should be in a place where we can actually split up and stay at our own places and work on things from there.
I don't know. Look, I get what you keep saying, that your mom's either gonna do it or not do it, but I just can't be that cavalier about it.
Why not?
A massive roll of the eyes at John. And she just drinks coffee like he didn't ask. If there's a substantial silence, if he does not follow up, does he follow up?
There starts to be silence, and he's like, you could stay here if you want.
That would probably be good.
You're not sure?
No, I just don't want to be a problem.
Well, you'll definitely be a problem, but
Yeah, that was a lie.
I knew that before inviting you.
I think that'd be good.
Good. He, clinks his cup of coffee against hers.
She does it back.
So anyways, I thought about what spells I might cast to kind of keep you and Dan in the best fighting shape I can, but I'm not really sure I can stretch it any further than that. So the question becomes, who should I be prepping? Who do you think is where I should put my focus?
I mean, I saw Dan fighting. You saw Dan fighting. He landed some serious hits on the anti-Thanatel. But he's working with Jesse, so I feel like you should cover Jesse before me.
I can. The only problem with what I'm creating is I don't think it's going to change shape with them.
Gotcha.
So if they're willing to stick to one form each, I can make that work.
Well, I didn't see them really shift while they were fighting. I don't know. I guess that means they would have to arrive in that form too, or I guess they could put it on if we had a spot nearby.
They'd have to spend this entire endeavor unable to talk to us.
Oh, that could be a problem. Especially with us half being in the gauntlet. Do they understand each other, do you think, when one of them's in a different form? They must, right?
So far I know that Jesse speaks a language that seems to be some sort of proto-language. And I assume Dan knows how to speak it too. And maybe he just has an accent or something he's uncomfortable with. But I'm pretty sure that they can communicate with each other.
Okay.
So the real barrier is them attempting to coordinate with us. And unfortunately, they're the two that are going to know the most about what to do in this situation.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is that one of them, maybe even not Dan, if Dan would prefer that I armor up Jesse, that works fine by me. But one of them has to be in a form that can communicate with us.
Yeah.
That way, if something happens, we're all right. And then there's another complication.
What's that?
So what I'm going to do is weave shadow, and with the shadow I can create armor that would help protect against, well, whatever it is that these rats are going to do.
There's a hint of a smile, and Aviva takes a sip of her coffee and says, "Armor like the stuff that you made me when we were fighting."
Yeah. So my intention is to create that. And what I'm not sure on is whether or not that armor is going to pass with them into the Shadow Realm when they cross. I don't know if they take gear with them or not. Unfortunately, a lot of this is... If we were working with the underworld, I might have a better idea on what to do. Even if it was the hedge, at least it seems that things come with you when you go. But I don't know enough about the spirit world to be able to guesstimate.
All right. Are there workarounds? I mean, could we theoretically bring them the armor and then... Well, that doesn't really... If they're fighting in the Hystial and they would have to get into our world in order to... Yeah, that doesn't fix anything.
And I adore Dan, but anything I make for Dan isn't fitting anyone else.
Nope. I guess me and Lola could get real personal. But, yeah, no. Okay, so you know that if you make me armor, it'll work. So I suppose that does make sense. And if we need one of the werewolves not to be wearing the armor so that we can talk to them, or I guess if you were to make the armor in man shape.
Man shape?
What do you fucking call it? I mean, they're not human shape. What do you want from me?
I guess that's fair. There really isn't a better term for it.
Because they're not... Human shape seems a little insensitive when they're not humans. Are they? What's the classification for werewolf?
He looks very seriously for a moment and is like, I think it's werewolf.
Important question. Did
Yes.
you... Oh, sorry, this is for Lex.
Huh?
Did you provide any cream for this coffee? Or did you pour a black cup of coffee?
Probably poured a black cup of coffee, but yes, like creamers and whatnot.
But you did not
Depending on
bring
what they're
any
saying.
over when you brought a
Right.
cup. All right, then the coffee gets poured on your shoe instead of on your arm, as it's probably very hot. It's a little spill. Very on purpose.
John kind of looks down at his shoe, looks up at Aviva. Ow. I could have very well burned.
That's why it went on the shoe.
Okay, I see how it is. All right, fine. So, human shape, man shape. I'll make one man shape.
I don't know the answers to the questions you're asking either, and I guess we could ask them, but it takes up time. And I don't think you gave... We're the two with the cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we gotta make some assumptions.
All right. I think Jesse's a little better at avoiding a hit. Dan's a big guy, but he's way outnumbered here, so armor on Dan, armor on you.
Okay.
That's the plan. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to begin casting. It's going to take some time. Once it's done, I should have the shadow weaved together. And then a bunch of other shit. And then I'll try to recoup what mana I can.
I'll have to wait until we're closer to work on my personal shit, but is there anything that I can do to help with your casting stuff?
John kind of gets up and gets a napkin for his shoe. No, I think you being here is pretty good.
Well, I don't know how helpful that's gonna be.
I feel pretty helped.
Thanks, by the way.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever seen someone stand up to my mom in my entire life.
Well, you still missed it this time.
But I saw the look on her face.
Yeah, she was, I tried to just scare her off, and,
You know I can see the truth, right? You promised me you were going to punch her way before we ran into her.
see the truth. I was running my mouth, like...
But you meant it.
Yeah, I super meant it if she was gonna do something like this.
Inevitably she was.
She doesn't seem... John, I know you were saying that you hope that she's on a bad path and that she can be pulled back, but she didn't seem like she had any doubt. I think the only reason I even managed to get to her was I threw her off. I scared her, and when she flinched, that made her weird. And then the sensation that someone could be as stupid as to try to stand up to her, that was the surprise.
But that tells me that someone was able to get through to her. Here's what I see. she's become so self-involved, so powerful, that she's really forgotten what nurturing is. And as far as she's concerned, she is God's gift to this town, and all she's doing is making things better. But because she's so narcissistic, because she can't even fathom a world in which she's wrong, the consequences of what she does doesn't really matter. And if something really, really bad were to happen, it would probably be someone else's fault anyway.
I don't know how... And Aviva actually looks really upset, like, all of a sudden. Like, posture going kind of cagey at John and locking up her expression. I don't know how she could have looked at you in that bathtub and not reacted.
It's probably the difference between the two of you.
I get that she can whatever fuck with time and make it so that it doesn't have a consequence, but it was still... She trails off. She has no intention of finishing the sentence.
John comes back and he's like sits next to Aviva and puts an arm around her. It's all right. I'm just saying for the record, I'm glad you're here, even though you push me around. I need it sometimes.
She kind of takes a second before, like, letting herself relax more under his arm. And like she didn't mean to say it, like she wasn't gonna say it, but then her mouth just started going without her own permission. It explains a lot about why you like when girls are mean to you.
I wish you didn't take it there.
John, you are aware that she is telling the truth.
He just sighs. Well, I'm gonna go cast magic.
And you prepare for the fight ahead against the Bechelou. Lola and Dan, you guys were out doing a shopping / glamour harvesting trip.
I think we're going to get us some clothes first.
Easy enough.
Yep.
Clothes and any like basic camping supplies and things like that. You go to the local hardware store, there's plenty of stuff there. There's not exactly high fashion in the area. Dan, you're a t-shirts and sweats kind of guy, but you can find at least something for her to wear that's not...
She finds definitely sneakers, as a treat. Not running around barefoot anymore. Definitely an athletic shoe, but pink, because she still likes to have pink on her feet.
Sure.
She'll follow Dan's directions for athleisure sort of stuff. And as she's looking around, she's looking for frustrated parents. She's looking for...
They exist.
For angry shop clerks.
There is a guy at the front desk at the hardware store who is currently arguing about the price of nails and how it used to be 5 cents a nail and now it's 7 cents a nail, and this is bullshit. And he is getting more and more unreasonably angry about how fucking expensive things are now. And the clerk, who's like 18 maybe, just doesn't fucking... Like, it's not that he's upset, he just is... He doesn't know what to say to this man.
Obviously, there's nothing he can do that's going to make him happy. But that guy, I might be able to take some of his frustration.
I don't know, man. Retail workers' pain, that's a good resource.
That's a good one. Oh, no, that's plan B. She isn't a creeper about it, but she does kind of make it a point to let people go ahead of her in line to check out.
Sure.
So she can hang with that emotion a little longer while the guy feels it and just kind of get... It's sort of like a surfing analogy. She wants to find the perfect wave to ride in on. So she's kind of reading the currents of his feelings.
You are nearby enough to do this, and it's not rushed like last time. These aren't powerful emotions or anything particularly deep-seated. Nor, however, is this a momentary emotion. You get the idea that this man is pretty constantly angry like this. He just finds excuses to be pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
So roll me a wits empathy.
7 successes.
Regains 7 glamour. And this man loses a point of willpower. And you see the air deflate out of him. 7 is so much. For a moment, he almost goes into like a fugue state. he just doesn't, he stops fighting, he stops yelling, and he just kind of stares. And then quietly, like, puts the $8.14 that he owes in exact change on the counter, and he picks up the paper bag full of deck nails, and he turns his back, and he walks wordlessly out of the hardware store, not really feeling much of anything at all. He'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But he got whammied really hard.
It's what people who yell at cashiers deserve.
You're not wrong.
He'll be fine by tomorrow.
You have harvested. You have a change of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can grab, you don't have to list them right now, but you guys can grab basically any basic like camping or hardware gear that you would want to bring.
Can I get her a baton?
A baton? Like a metal rod? You're in a hardware store. They're all
I
over the
specifically
place.
want the ones with like rubber end caps.
Yeah, I guess.
Because that's less of a deadly weapon if she happens to be caught carrying it around.
Sure.
Unlike, I don't know, a crowbar.
Fair enough.
Also less likely to be made out of iron. So
Also that. There's plenty of aluminum piping.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
There are some sections in here, including that man's bag of nails, that
yeah, she
little uncomfortable.
definitely kind of gives him a wide berth as he passes, and there's parts of the store she just does not go to.
I'd like you both to roll me intelligence investigations. Because you're kind of looking around. This is not like a snap look.
Shit. I actually have that skill.
3 successes.
2 successes.
Okay. So two, you're looking at different things, right? Things that you will notice. There is a union meeting, a lodge meeting specifically, tomorrow night. There is, so this is like a hardware store, but it is also sort of over time become sort of a general purpose store, right? That's why you can go buy some like athletic gear,
Yeah.
camping stuff. There's a gun section here. You will recognize that just for a second, somebody's buying some bullets. You know, God, it fucking happens all the time out here, right? And the both of you, with regular success, will notice as they click them open and then check them, put them back in, an unusual glint to them. They do, in fact, appear to be silver bullets.
What the fuck?
You don't really recognize the guy. Well, you've maybe seen him around town, but like not
Does he have a ring? Or
not a
pin?
ring, but he has a pin. He does not seem to recognize you, Dan. Like it's not like there's no glare, and he's also very clearly for the two of you, particularly for you, Lola, who can like pick up on the subterfuges and things a little bit better. He's not like pretending not to see Dan. He just legitimately doesn't seem to really know who Dan is. Like, it's a small town, but it's not impossible to just not know people.
Yeah.
And he just buys them. He goes, "Hey, thanks, Dave." Dave behind the counter was like, "Yeah, no problem, man. It's fucking weird, but have fun with that. Money spends good." I was like, "Yeah, well, have a good one." Both of you can roll me wits empathy.
0, I'm very distracted.
1 success.
With 1 success, you get the impression, you're not certain, obviously, but you get the impression neither the man behind the counter nor the man buying the bullets seems to really realize that these are not just bullets.
Dan, do you have a gun? Can we buy one?
Oh, sorry. No.
Can we buy one?
I mean, we could. Why?
Because I want to buy some bullets.
We could just buy bullets.
I mean, I guess that's true, but if we're gonna buy bullets, shouldn't we?
John has a gun.
John has a gun.
Yeah.
Okay, let's buy bullets for John's gun.
Let's go up the counter.
Yeah. Do I know Dave?
Yeah, you've been in the hardware store often enough, usually buying like auto parts and shit. All right, Dan, how you doing?
What's going on?
Not much.
Just looking to buy some bullets.
You shoot?
Occasionally.
Shit, I didn't know that. I never
Yeah.
see you out in the... Where do you go? Oh, you got that fucking cabin out in the woods, huh?
Yeah, I haven't did it since my uncle,
All right, well, what can I get you?
Yeah, they pulled John's gun out in front of me before, right?
You may roll me an intelligence firearms to know the correct bullets to buy for John's gun.
Take a willpower.
Why? I'll just buy the wrong bullets.
Also, that works.
That'll be a 6, so 0, not a chance roll, so just...
It's not a shotgun, and it's not a rifle.
I need some handgun bullets.
Yeah, what caliber are you?
Yeah. Hold on a minute. I'm thinking.
Really?
It's been a bit, okay? Like.
Hey, man. Yeah,
okay.
whatever. It's fine with
Break.
me.
I do it.
That was your model of gun, right? And she just kind of points at a box of bullets. That's what it takes, right?
Yes.
You want shotgun shells?
No. No.
I wasn't pointing at the shotgun shells.
Kid, those...
Like the 9mm.
How you doing, Dolores?
I'm doing well.
He, seems to recognize that you're, in here. He doesn't really see Dolores in the hardware store.
Right.
And it's like, oh, hey.
Hi.
You guys going out shooting?
And
Was it like a 9mm, John? Dan?
Yeah.
Not John. He does not say John. Sure. Yeah, all right, fine. You guys going shooting together? Or hey, I'm so sorry, by the way. I didn't... Terrible news, but I'm sure somebody will fix it, They got a lodge meeting tomorrow night. I'm sure they'll talk about it and find a new place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm 100% positive that they will.
It's good to see, I would have thought you were devastated, but it's okay.
I will endure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm so busy thinking of all the things leading up to it.
Yeah, I know. I was the same way.
That was... yeah. It's a blow. We'll tuck and roll, though.
It's a good outlook. I get that.
Yes.
And
But no, we have an annual meetup, high school friends.
yeah.
Yeah, so we figured we should probably...
Are you guys going out shooting for a bachelorette party or something? Is that what's going on?
Yes.
This guy seems way too interested in you guys' lives.
I just started sliding the card over to him to finish the transaction.
Yes, they are all part of my bride's guard.
Somebody roll me a subterfuge plus manipulation so that they do not recognize while you are buying bullets that you are buying those bullets with a card that says John Taggert on it.
I know, I'm just debating how bad I want this. Okay, if the fairy comes up, I'm spending a willpower.
All right.
I am not spending a willpower.
Okay.
We die like men.
Leave it to chance. You may take a 2-die. So basically, you can either both roll, or one of you can roll and give the other one a 2-die bonus.
She can have the bonus.
All right. Your manipulation, not your strong suit, huh, bud?
Nope.
One success.
One success. He continues to talk to Dolores about presumably the wedding, and chat with Dan. Swipes the card, doesn't even really look. It's Dan, it's Dolores. Two of the most trustworthy people in town.
Hey.
You guys buy a box of bullets. Get the card back, no issues.
Throw it in our bags, and along with all your extra changes of similar styled clothing, and
You guys head out.
head out. And a baton.
And a baton. It's going to be a wild bachelorette weekend. Once we're outside, Lola opens the box to see if they have the glint as well.
It's just bullets.
All right. Well, I think that's a better solution.
I don't know. We should probably tell John, because that seemed weird. And it seems like bullshit. So, which makes me feel like it's something going weird.
I think there's a lot of bullshit and weirdness going on right now, and yes.
Yeah. Well, you got clothes at least.
I did.
Did you feed on that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How does that work?
John would have actually run a few errands as things wind down.
Sure.
One, obviously, he would want to check on Ernie, make sure everything's good with him. But he actually needs Ernie's help for a very quick thing.
Okay.
His car is still at the fucking campsite.
Same with the motorcycle.
It sure is.
So he'd be requesting a quick lift if Ernie could just get them out. They get their cars, motorcycle, what have you, and then head back.
Absolutely.
If he can convince Ernie to do it, he would try to maybe get them to sit down and have a quick meal while they're out and about.
Ernie is very happy to give you a ride. Are you just going out alone with Ernie?
I would invite Aviva along so that she doesn't beat him up for going off alone or something.
Good choice.
Ernie is perfectly happy to give you a ride. He's got an old beat sedan that is falling apart, but it works. Seems surprised to see Aviva, but not as... Ernie was aware of what his wife was.
Yeah.
Ernie is aware of what his former sister-in-law was. Or is, rather.
Mm-hmm.
Unclear if he knows what's up with you. He's never really talked to you about it. He is surprised to see Aviva, but not in a, oh my God, what is this kind of way. He lets out a horrible racking cough in the front seat and looks over and, nice to meet you again. Nice to see you. I'm glad. And he gives John a look and a nod, very similar to the one he gave a few days ago, or a week ago, or whatever the fuck. Very similar in that, like, I'm glad you're getting out of the house. Good for you, kid, kind of way. You haven't seen Ernie into his time, like a week or so, and he looks more drawn. Like you're not sure how much he's eaten in the last few days.
Yeah.
So your car's up with the thing, the two of you, are you?
Yeah, the week got a little complicated, and I kind of screwed up some timing and left the car behind. So I just need to grab that, get to work on a few projects.
Sure.
There's a lot going on, which is nice in a weird way,
Yeah, I'm glad to see you busy. You sticking around? He looks over at Aviva in like the rearview mirror. Are you guys? Is one of you in the front or both of you in the back? What's the seating arrangement here?
I'm probably not going to give him like the taxi cab treatment, and I would sit with him.
I would have assumed that. As we're approaching the car, and as John gets in the front and Aviva gets into the back, there's sort of that eye contact through the mirror then. The rear view mirror, that is. And Aviva does... I mean, she's still sort of got that habitual, like, no, I'm not, sort of reaction to someone recognizing her. But it's so passing in this moment. And once he says, like, he's glad to meet her again, she does give him, like, a little grin. But she seems to be intentionally quiet, just kind of letting the two of them connect, seeing how they talk to each other. Him asking, are you going to be sticking around? She doesn't seem like she knew the answer to that question, or like she was expecting it. It actually genuinely throws her for a second. She looks, makes eye contact in the rear view again, looks away, looks back at the back of John's head in the passenger seat, says, thinking I'll be here probably at least a little longer.
Well, that's good. That's good. The Founders Day Festival's coming up pretty soon, and, it's like next weekend. They're going to be setting up this week, as, game booths and, this, Ferris wheel. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And he, like, looks over at John with that very unsubtle uncle, like, there's a fair coming up, stupid. Like, make sure this girl sticks around for a little bit. And then keeps his eye on the road.
I haven't thought about the Founders Day Fair in years.
Yeah, they still do it. It's the big thing they still do. What's up at the Swanson cabin? Is that where you're going? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the way.
Yeah, the same old spot.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
After hearing that Aviva's only staying a little longer, and then finding about the obvious note that he had not considered until Ernie kind of like bludgeoned him with it, John just kind of looks out the window for a little while, sort of doing mental math. And
well, does your understanding of truth supersede when someone doesn't know whether they're telling the truth?
I think so, actually.
How's that work?
Yeah.
I mean, John has known that Aviva's been full of shit on other occasions.
John, Aviva says she's sticking around for a little while longer. And in your sight, Rebecca, what is the truth of that statement? The truth that maybe Aviva herself hasn't quite grasped yet.
She has no plan to leave. She had squared the decision to come back to Ashville. And she had expected that to be something entirely different than it was. And as it turns out, this is where she intends to be, so long as her friends are here.
And Ernie drives on. It's a quick drive up Your cars are there as you approach. There are some like spider webs over the path. You know, not like ominously, just it's the forest. Your cars are there, and it looks like you have left your cars in a wooded area, your motorcycle in a wooded area for a week or so. There's like little drops of tree sap on them from, you know, that are going to be a pain in the ass to get off. Unless you're a matter mage. I saw that look. They're a little dusty just from being out here. But otherwise, everything seems normal. There is no sign of anything unnatural. There is no sign of the Antithanatau. And as far as you are aware, you are not trapped in some sort of new time bubble.
John has a smile that is like borderline on smug as he gets out of the car, kind of just feeling great. And he kind of settles down a little bit to take a look across the area. Now, one thing that John is definitely going to be looking for as he kind of very casually heads to the car and pokes his head around is the process by which the forest exists in a cycle. Is that still flowing right? Are there any apparent long-term consequences for the Antithanatau having been here? Or does it look like things are actually okay as is?
So looking through your mage sight to see that kind of stuff, and it's specifically actually because through your death sight, there is nothing dead in the area. There are no broken branches. Or rather, there are broken branches, but those broken branches still live. Green still clings to them. There are no dead insects. There's actually a lot of insects in the area because there are no dead insects. However, there are not really any new, like, mushrooms or anything like that. Not because they have died, but because there is nothing for them to grow upon. Ones that were already there have remained almost like they are in stasis.
Okay, so there's definitely disorder to the natural flow of things.
There was a consequence for an abyssal entity of anti-death manifesting in this place. Even if this place was unmoored from this place at the time.
Aviva's looking around, keeping a practical eye out for any disturbance, but if there's nothing around, she'll kind of make her way over to... We've got, 2 cars and the motorcycle here? We're going to have to make a couple runs, I think.
Yeah, I figure once Dan gets back, I'll give him a lift to pick up his truck. That gives us a few minutes to go over a little bit of a plan for how we're going to address the cult itself. I look over at Ernie. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on for a while here, and we might have a chance at figuring it all out.
I'm not going to tell you to be safe, because I know you're not going to listen to me. Neither one of you. And he looks over at Aviva, like, honestly having a decent idea of who Aviva is.
There's a rogue smile, and she imitates a prissy wave.
But I just make sure that you know that what you're doing is the right thing to do. Because there's a lot of doing the right thing in this family that doesn't actually take other people into account.
Unlike most of my family, our family, I've had a pretty good teacher.
There's a weird inflection to Ernie and like the cast of his body that like he's talking to John when he says our family, but like the umbrella is extended to the other person standing here in the clearing when he says our family. He doesn't call any particular attention to it. There's just that sort of older man inflection of like, this is what I mean when I say that.
Okay, clearly seeing what Ernie's up to. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, let's.
Aviva kind of like quirks her chin at it.
I'm not hungry.
Have you eaten?
Don't eat if you're not hungry. Isn't that what they say? Those health fitness guys.
That's if you want to lose weight.
The man looks like skin stretched over a skeleton, but like...
Okay, so we're going to go get some food. I don't mean... Thanks for the lift, and I don't mean to just show up and start bossing you around, but that's what's going to have to happen. Let's get a meal. Let's enjoy the day. There's still a few hours left.
He doesn't say anything, just starts the car again and starts backing down the driveway.
I'll see you there.
See you there.
Ernie does show up to June's Diner. Because where else are you going to go for food?
Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Obviously, we'll share a meal, and then I am going to get some orders to go, like a couple pounds of meatballs for Dan, and a little more diversity for Jesse and Lola.
And you guys get the food, and you head back to the house.
As we're about to head off and split to our different cars, I just want to pick up an extra slice of what's the best known pie, Garrett? What's the classic pie for June's Diner?
What does June make the best?
Strawberry rhubarb, of course.
So I'm going to pick up a slice of strawberry rhubarb, and as we're about to split cars, Ernie's about to go his own way home. I'm going to open the passenger door and just put the takeout container on the passenger seat, clip over the seatbelt on it, and then close the door. I'll stop if he tries to talk to me before I close the door, but...
He doesn't. The door closes. It looks like, honestly, this level of activity and interaction has wiped him out.
Yep.
He doesn't say anything, but with his back so that John can't see, he just mouths, "He really cares about you," through the glass, and then drives off, having done his uncly meddling.
Aviva can be seen rolling her eyes, but what does that mean? It always happens. When she goes back to her motorcycle to head on back.
Dan, you and Lola were at the house. Lola had expressed how much you grasped of what she was expressing about dreams and rest is unclear. She had sort of seemed very tired.
Right.
And so has gone to another room to rest. She has not wanted to be alone recently, but had sort of expressed that she wasn't really going to be there when she rested. So it didn't matter if you were there or not. It was a little... she was a little unclear, to be honest. This is not just you not grasping. She was a little unclear.
I take the opportunity to be moving around John's apartment and cleaning up after everyone and just passing by the room she's in just to make sure to keep her knowing that I'm nearby essentially while she wants to recharge.
As you pass by, you see her fade from existence, stepping immaterially into a dream. And it sort of clicks. The mechanics of it maybe not, but sort of clicks what it means when she said, "I'm not going to be here, so it doesn't matter." That being said, before she falls asleep, before she disappears, you think maybe that passing by, just making your presence known, is what would have allowed her to fall asleep in the first place.
Right. She's on some sort of dream journey / actual rest for flower people. Got it.
Sure, yeah. Close enough, right?
Right. I mean, flowers need sunlight, so that makes sense to rest during the day.
Sure. And it's about that time, as you have honestly cleaned up,
Yeah.
and she actually manages to get some real rest. Jesse, you make your way back through the streets of Ashville towards John's house. What form are you in right now?
I think he's in his human he-shoe form.
You walk down the streets. It's like a warm night. Thinking about, some of the things that you had just seen. The plan with the old abandoned, fun zone spot. It's getting late at this point. Time flies. And you remember tonight is the new moon. The streetlights are going to come on pretty soon. The ones that aren't burned out or broken. You make your way over towards John's house. You can see the lights, and everybody is inside.
Jesse definitely tries to keep his eyes down to the ground, but he can feel that kind of cold sweat in the back of his neck. Just that pressure under his skin. Just the slightest bit of a push that a wolf howl could give on a night like tonight. He doesn't want to acknowledge that the moon is absent. He hopes that maybe just keeping his eyes to the ground will hold back the beast that will become enraged at the sight of a moonless sky.
Wolves aren't common around Ashville. You know that most people who talk about wolf sightings are usually talking about you or Dan. It's not impossible. And in the distance, you hear a yip and a little howl, and then you recognize it's just a coyote, which is much more common around these parts. But still, that's on the back of your mind as you arrive back at John's place.
Jesse comes in through the front door, goes into the kitchen area, pours himself a glass of water, and just kind of sits at the table. When you see him, he is not looking good. I think you're probably aware of what time of the month it is, and the fact that the new moon is never good for him. But Jesse usually kind of laughs that off with a nervous smile. He's always got that kind of mischievous twinkle in his eye, even if you can see that he's maybe sweating a little bit and looking nervous about what could happen.
I imagine that you typically just do not go out much.
Right. Right now, he is not smiling. His mouth is actually closed and kind of set. His eyes look a little bit haunted, and he is just kind of keeping his head down.
Dan searches through the limited resources of the refrigerator and puts together something for Jesse, and then kind of leans on the refrigerator. Is it worse than we thought?
It's not what we thought. I mean, the Bechelou are what we thought.
Okay.
But there's something else in the Hisseel, man. Where's everybody else?
Aviva and John are getting their cars.
Okay, that makes sense.
And Lola is getting some recharge sunlight dream stuff.
He kind of looks blankly at you.
She doesn't sleep like the rest of us, so she had to go elsewhere, but she's safe there. I don't really understand, but she's not anywhere that I know right now.
Okay, so
I think she's in dream walking, but not like the Freddy Krueger bad type.
he kind of looks off for a second and kind of like he's mulling that over, nods yeah, that makes sense enough.
She explained it, but also didn't, so I'm far more confused than when I started.
Did she give you that look and say it's my job?
I think so, but more flowery.
Yeah, all right. Do you know when they're all going to be back?
They said something about getting lunch with Ernie, so a little bit of time.
All right.
So yeah, I imagine it won't be terribly long, but you want to do this all at once, I guess?
It doesn't matter. But, hey, Dan, when you went to the church and you first saw the Bechelou,
Yeah.
did the Grubbler get across?
I lost track of him.
Jesse kind of frowns at that. I didn't see or feel him at all the past 2 times we've been in the Hisseel.
Well, I mean, we made that new pact. I didn't know if that...
I still would have imagined that the Grubbler would have been nearby.
I think you did, man, but it was a lot going on, and he was with Lola, and she was invisible, so there's a good chance he got through. He's sneaky like that.
I'm still worried.
Don't worry, I'll kick his butt for you next time I see him.
Jesse just kind of flashes you a look. You can really see that he is on edge.
What's this other thing? I'm not seeing you like this.
I don't know. It's, I guess the best word for it is a tower.
A tower in this seal.
Yeah.
Is it new? You think you would see something like that?
I've never seen anything like this in the Hisseel before.
Where?
Right by the warehouse where the Bechelou are hiding.
It's like another warehouse, or
No. This doesn't have a reflection. It's not a reflected. It's something that's cutting through the Hasiel.
well, that's got to have ramifications.
It's angles and fixtures and cogs that are reflected back upon itself, and it spirals off into a reflection into infinite space. It's hard to look at.
You think this is something John's mother did?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It looks like it's near the factory, so I'm going to have to assume that it has something to do with everything else that's going on. I
Great.
don't think this is all just coincidence. It's painful to see. And I can't unsee it. On the back of my neck, I have hair standing up from the moon. And deep in my chest, I can feel the vibrations of this thing. It's making my insides feel like they are spinning and cracking apart like I'm changing. But I'm not. I don't even think I'm making sense about what I saw.
I don't really understand, but do we need to go somewhere, do something?
We're going to have to go in the Hasiel at some point,
Yeah.
and you're going to see it.
All right, but maybe we can go somewhere else until then. A little bit better, a little bit more clear for the mind.
Like where?
I mean, the quarry's always good. The quarry's clear.
The quarry was sparse on essence,
I mean, we're not going there for essence right now.
but even if we go there, the state of the Hasiel is going to vibrate there. Things are messed up. We've been doing a shit job, Dan.
I would like to think that we are not. We are doing what we can.
Doesn't change the fact that it's a shit job.
I think it might. We've been given a job and we've been doing it.
I can barely get you to come into the Hasiel for Cisco Da with me. When I'm there, I just look at things and don't actually change anything. It took us till now to go talk to the Watcher on the branches.
Yeah, I might be a little less involved with the spirits. They don't like me and I'm not a big fan of most of them.
Doesn't change the fact that we have a responsibility.
I mean, we've been crushing those that need to be crushed.
And how did all those Bechelou come up?
They're sneaky.
Yeah, I guess so.
I also don't know if it's all us, man. Too much going on for it to be a failure on just us. I don't understand half of what's happening here, but we've seen a weird death thing or anti-death thing. And that thing hurt like hell. So, and that was neither of us or anything that we've ever dealt with.
I'm not sure.
And then there's Aviva and her weird ghost stuff. And then Lola's made out of flowers. Like, there's a lot of things happening here that have nothing to do with us.
I think it's all connected.
It's a possibility. I ain't smart enough to figure it out, but I think we should just focus on the things that we can do.
Did you hear anything weird in the hedge?
Yeah, I heard a lot of weird stuff in the hedge, but I was told just to follow Lola. But I imagine they were like spirit tricks, you know? They're always saying shit to make you do stuff.
Yeah, maybe. None of this looks to have settled Jesse's mind at all.
Do we need to, like... just seeing that he's not calmer is like he's trying, but he's not sure what Jesse needs.
He just kind of sits there staring into the glass of water he has. He's completely ignored the food that you set out for him, and he's just kind of taking sips of the water.
I don't know, man. You let me know what you need, but we can do it. I'm not sure focusing on the things that we're not doing well is going to help us. I think we should focus on the things that we can do.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I guess just get ready for the Bechelou.
It's around this time that the two of you hear, the hum of a car engine pulling up and the rumble of a motorcycle shortly behind it.
Man, that thing needs a tune-up.
Aviva and John, you return to the house after having dealt with Ernie, or spent time with Ernie.
Dealt with
Ernie.
Dealt with.
After the two, you beat up a sick old man.
Aviva comes in, hair all kinds of fucked up from the wind. She might have been wearing her helmet. It's kind of hard to tell. But soon after, John?
Yeah, John slips in behind her and has this bag that has in a bunch of like boxed up meals. He heads over to the table and kind of has this very relaxed look about him, like he's actually had a pretty good day, and then stops when he sees Dan and Jesse. Without saying very much, he opens the bag and he starts getting out some diner food for the two of them. How did scouting go?
Jesse kind of just buries his head down into his shoulders, continuing to stare into the glass of water, and just doesn't really he just kind of clams up a little bit.
Dan visibly sniffs the air and then reaches for the box that's clearly smells like the largest pile of meat.
Eat the meatballs, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesse found something that shouldn't be there near where the Bichelou are.
Are you good? What's up?
He kind of glances up at you guys before just kind of returning his stare back down to the cup. There's some kind of construction in the Hyseal.
John's eyebrows furrow at that.
It's a tower. That's not a good description for it. It looks refracted. It's not all. That's. It's some kind of It's not a mechanism. It's reflected back in on it itself. No.
John gets out like one of his little notebooks and a pen and sits down next to Jesse.
You see him as he's describing this. His forehead is furrowing more and more as he looks like he's getting. It's painful to recount what he saw.
Is this a shape that shouldn't be?
He starts to kind of rub his temples. It was, but you can see he looks very uncomfortable. He's pretty visibly sweaty.
Do you mind if I perform a quick checkup?
He kind of slowly looks up at you.
Nothing invasive, but it sounds like you had a pretty bad experience.
His eyes dart over to where Aviva is, back to John. He kind of slowly nods a little bit.
Okay. The calmer you are when I do this, the better. I know eating might be hard while stressed like this.
You can see there's a
Give it
plate of
go.
food that hasn't been touched next to him.
Even if you're just chewing it, swallowing every now and again, it's a start. And Rob,
Yes.
I want to use Death Sight to examine the state of Jesse's soul.
Jesse is clearly upset, but his soul remains as it ever was. It is not changed from what it used to be.
Whatever this is, it hasn't broken you. That I can see for certain. So if we want to take some time, that's okay.
I don't think I can describe what I saw to you. I think you're just going to have to see it for yourself. It's growing out of the factory floor.
Which factory?
He dips his head a little bit and gives him a knowing stare.
I thought there was only one factory in town.
One that matters. All right. Dan.
Yeah.
I think we need to add this to the list of details we need to get when we head to the meeting.
Super weird machine coming out of the factory. I'll try to slip that into conversation.
If any group's going to know something about it, it's going to be them.
The Bichelou have moved their location to within a few blocks of where that is.
Within the shadow of it.
He nods.
It's weird that it's not bothering them like you did you. Wonder if they can even see it.
Do you think they're like working together or?
They're not like that. They'll work with each other, but very rarely anything else. They're also extraordinarily cowardly unless they've got enough numbers. So anything that's rattled Jesse this much, I can't imagine the Bachelor would be dealing well with. They might not be able to see it at all. They might be able to feel it.
They might not care. They might just see it as something to hide in.
Or it has them.
Whatever this thing is.
Has them?
No. Like they've gone mad watching the shape.
Okay.
Or it's some sort of weird superior predator that's utilizing them. Don't know enough yet.
Look, I think it's a good idea for you two to try to get some info about this when you're going to your cult meeting. But if it's that bad, I feel like you should have backup.
What are you proposing?
I mean, I have my ways of staying hidden. I don't know if you're ready for that again, Jesse, or...
Jesse shakes his head. I'm not going to be good to anybody tonight.
What's the thing?
Tonight's the new moon.
I feel like I have already made a lot of assumptions about how werewolves work, so I don't want to make any more. What's that mean?
It means that the half of me that's a wolf becomes enraged when the moon is absent from the sky. When night falls, if I hear anything resembling a howl, I might lose control. It's called Karuth.
I mean, it sounds like legends, right? I thought...
No. This isn't legends. Uncle Hank told us to try and get as far away from town as we could if we have problems like this, and luckily Dan's got his Karuth pretty well under control. So it only happens when he hurts people that are close to him. Mine happens every month.
So yeah, typically he stays indoors, but the cult thing's not till tomorrow night.
I was hoping I was going to have another night before it got really bad, but I think it's tonight.
I mean, I still think that you shouldn't be alone. We said that none of us should be alone.
I will kill anything that's near me if this happens.
That's not necessarily defending yourself.
The other problem is if he goes, it's a good chance I'll go.
So you two need to be separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's infectious.
Just so you guys?
I don't know enough about it. I can't really remember what happens.
Other werewolves, maybe. We haven't really encountered too much.
I feel like you don't have to be alone for this. There's stuff I can do.
There's a spot that I go to usually. A little bit outside of town. I don't think a lot of people go there, because it's kind of hard to hike to. If you want to watch me there and make sure I don't hurt anybody, I'd appreciate it, but I wouldn't stay too close yourself.
Aviva makes strong eye contact with Jesse, if he'll allow it, and lifts her arm and taps on the rune. Now, you're the one who told me that I'm going to be keeping people in check, so you got to let me do my job, right?
He kind of nods.
Because you two, I think you're good to keep each other safe, right?
Yeah, where's Lola?
Oh, yeah, shit.
She is dream walking, recharging in sunlight.
Oh, like when she was getting in John's dream?
Sure.
Jesse cocks his head at that.
She did this thing where she disappeared and was in John's head for stuff.
Is she safe there?
She seemed to indicate so. She said
Okay.
she needed the rest. Because I guess when she stays here, she doesn't actually rest.
Okay.
If she's safe.
All right, that makes sense.
I mean...
Does it?
It does.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense, but none of this shit ever makes sense, so we
We're
gotta
all taking
establish a new
steps to prepare for a
baseline.
big fight, right? Maybe this is a step she needs to take.
I mean, Flower's got to get in the sunlight to recharge, right?
She did still seem pretty hurt after she came back from the church with you.
She can't heal like us.
Hopefully this will be a place where she can.
All right. You wanna be dropped off so you can get your truck, or how do we start this?
I'll take Dan to pick up his truck, and when we get back, I'm going to need to transfer a while. I guess that's what we can do. And you'll be keeping an eye on Jesse?
Yeah, what do you need?
He shakes his head.
Nothing, no... I don't know. Again, I know I'm just going on bad movies at this point.
I'll bring a spare set of clothes just in case.
Yeah, right. Then I'm ready when you are.
Jesse and Aviva heading out to a spot outside of town while Dan and John get ready for a meeting with the Order of the Toolmaker. Lola, your body was still hurt from whatever had happened with the Bechelou last time, and with a conflict coming where everyone had said they were going to get together to fight the Bechelou. Right? Jesse had gone off to scout. Everybody was getting ready. As a changeling, you are a creature in some ways of dreams. And you know, instinctually, that you can enter your own dreams while you're sleeping, or just walk the dreaming roads through the hedge. And within that place, though the hedge is danger, you also know that for you, a creature of dreams, it is a place of power. So
it's also the only place that I can heal myself at a rate commensurate to my companions.
And if you are going to be ready, you needed to rest. True rest, not the blank sleep of reality. So you had told Dan, gotten into bed. Before you fall asleep, what are Lola's fears? What is she thinking about?
Lola is afraid all the time, which oddly gives her a sort of strength in that she is a creature of the Autumn Court and believes in the innate power of fear. So being filled with fear all the time gives an odd sense of I function at this level of fear all the time, and I do it fairly well. But there are the things that jab the fear response. Loss of self is probably chief among them. Loss of the people that she's just regained. The thing that lingers the longest is how much more do I have to give up to regain what I had? And is there an answer to that isn't heartbreaking?
Those doubts and fears and that solitude as you lay down to rest are all in mind. And then you notice, just before you drift off, Dan keeps pacing in front of the door. Not like, intrusively, but he just keeps walking past the door, checking, I don't know, maybe to make sure you're still okay, or maybe just to let you know he's there.
That gives some measure of reassurance, because whatever his intent, he is there. And if he's still there, then I'm still here. So everything is better.
And with that reassurance, you are able to drift off. Dan and the audience will see a single holly branch left in your place, sharp green leaves, and red berries. A holly branch, which Lola would have known, having left it there, means domestic happiness or defense, something along those lines. A single leaf falls off the branch. But you step through the gates and into the bastion of your own dreams. You are an Orneropomp here. You are a thing of dreams. You can control dreams. You are much more than simply a lucid dreamer. What is Lola dreaming about? What is her dreamscape?
The first thing that happens is music begins to play. And it's a blank space only in so much as it's a blank canvas. Lola, in this space, sees nothing but possibility and room to work. And she creates point shoes on her feet, which is what she can always come back to know who she is. She just begins to dance to the music playing. And as she dances, the shape of her body creates colors and figures and truly illustrates the music playing. And the music playing is a combination of sounds that have never been heard in reality before and things that she has heard in reality before. And some of it is spoken words, and some of it is actual singing, and some of it is just instruments, but all of it she is coloring with her body and the shapes she can make with it.
You summon into this place the props of your music and dance. Does Lola create any eidolons within this space? The props within a dreamscape, as if your dreams are a stage, the props are the props, the things, the items, the music. The eidolons being the things that talk back. Not really creatures, they aren't real, even in this place, even for you, but the actors in the play? Or is she simply dancing alone?
After a while, for a while, it's just her dancing alone. A sense of grounding herself in this place where she is truly powerful. And as she begins to feel good about what she's doing, a theater house is created where the audience claps and weeps and cheers at what she is capable of doing and what emotions she's able to evoke from them without speaking a word of her own.
As you are here in this place of your dreams, you may spend glamour on a 1-for-1 basis to heal any remaining lethal damage on yourself.
We're gonna do that. So as she dances, her body reweaves itself. Part of the colors and the shapes that she creates is on herself. And part of it is a very real sensation of healing, and part of it is, at least here, I can pretend that I am whole. That no parts of me have been taken and stolen by the thorns.
In this place, you have no mask. You are your dream form. But that doesn't necessarily mean in this place that is an uncomfortable form to have.
And that's big. Lola, even before she had been a changeling, had the feeling that who she was not enough. Parents had expectations of straight A's constantly, and math was hard, so she was not a straight A student, and science was hard, so she was not a straight A student. And so she had to pretend to be something she wasn't long before she was made of flowers. And it was only with her friends that, even before she left, that her mask was off. It was only with Aviva screaming Broadway musicals in the car and drawing, pictures of the science teacher, making fart noises or with crossed eyes on their work as they sat in class, that the mask was down. And she can kind of recapture that feeling here. That the mask is a tool, but not one that benefits her tremendously. It is a tool for everyone else.
As the trappings of your bastion are created around you, this grand theater space, you know that you, unlike most mortals who dream within their own bastions, you are not bound by this place in the same way. You create it, it is yours, it is your comfort. But you know that you could dance down the hall between the benches and seats of cheering, clapping, weeping people that you have created, out the door and onto the dreaming roads, a place that can hold dangers within the hedge. But this time you're not running from Arcadia, and this time you are not worried about getting your friends safely out of a place they should not be. And there is fear in that, but there is a kind of joy and freedom in that masklessness as well. Is Lola in the mood to explore?
Lola, I think, has been established is a creature of impulsivity at times. Looking back to when she ran after Jesse to steal a cop car. Lots of moments where her impulse control has gone to absolute crap. And for the first time in a while, the lack of impulse control is from joy and excitement of what she might find. And so she does just that. It's impressive choreography to use the house instead of just the stage. And so she leaps and spins and turns down the aisles, sprinkling flower petals as she goes. There's not even a door for her to stand between her and the outside world. It simply just appears and changes with her movement.
And you step through the door, this created portal of the theater of your mind, onto the dreaming roads. A large road. You are familiar with trods. The Dreaming Road is one of the more famous of trods. Even a newer changeling such as yourself is aware of what the dreaming roads are. They stretch and touch upon all mortal dreams. Now, there are dangers here. Sometimes huntsmen follow the dreaming roads. Sometimes a lost mortal has horrifically found themselves trapped in this place. Some of the dreaming roads, if you take the wrong turns, can lead straight to Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that because you shape the hedge to your will as a changeling in much the same way that you did your own dreams, if to a lesser extent, the bastions of sleeping mortals are open to you. You also know that time is weird here, both in Ashville and in the hedge. So
Nothing in Ashville has corrected Lola's assumption that time is an extremely arbitrary construct.
the moment in time in which you could maybe enter the sleeping dreams of a mortal is, at least in this moment, fluid. You look, and there are bastions all around you. The way that a bastion interacts with the dreaming roads is there is that bastion, that fortress. Some of them are towers, some of them are little chestnuts, some of them are holes in the ground, some of them are, nuclear silo-style bunkers. Depends on the dreams of the mortal, and the mortal's dreams within that bastion, within that literal fortress of the mind, bleed out into the hedge around them and color it. So outside of your theater that you have created, you see the playbills. You see the posters for the performance that you are going to do. You see a line of vaguely formed eidolons waiting to get inside. And then it starts to give way more towards the naturalistic thorns and growths of the hedge until you see a long road stretching before you.
Rob, John is going to be taking a moment to prepare 4 pieces of armor for the members of the group. And what he is doing, he's taking like leather jackets, things that he owns, and he is going to be altering shape so that all 4 objects levitate into the air and begin to warp and transform into other things. And because he's channeling so much mana into it, they are going to be highly reinforced, but still theoretically within the realm of possibility, pieces of armor for the group.
Okay.
Now, for the sake of Dan and Jesse, he is specifically going to create it with their bigger wolfman form in mind. That is not their crazy thing that I haven't seen, but
Dalu.
yes.
Great.
He is preparing for them to be compatible with their Dalu forms.
Okay.
Later, I may attempt to fuse their items with like leotards so that they stretch and remain perfectly reinforced armor should they transform, but I don't really have I just don't feel like it right now.
Yeah. No, it's
I feel like that might be harder to convince them to wear, so I think I'll just go with this for now.
Spandex reinforced jackets?
Yeah, I mean, it'll just look like jackets, but yeah, definitely that.
Yeah, okay.
I have 4 successes, so at that point the spell goes off. Now I am going to roll to determine how much of an increased armor bonus it is.
Okay.
It is an exceptional success on the crafting roll, so I can shift the armor rating all the way up to +5.
Jesus.
So they do not have the benefit of being specifically bulletproof, but they will give them each 5 points of armor.
5 points of general armor, not ballistic armor.
Correct.
Okay. You are making 4 items. Who are the items tailored to? Jesse, Dan,
Everyone but me.
everyone but you. Okay.
Once that's done and everyone's sort of broken up to do their thing, John's going to grab the biggest of jackets and head out to find Dan somewhere in the house.
Dan is just waiting, more or less. He's probably eating, if I had to guess.
Killed all those meatballs.
Yeah, I probably ate all of whatever was left there, regardless. It's very likely. He's probably watching John's TV a little bit too loud.
Here's a question that hasn't been asked. What kinds of shows does Dan watch? John's got all the cable, or all the channels.
I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I don't know if Dan spends a lot of time watching TV, so like
I assume he doesn't. That's why
Yeah.
when he puts the TV on.
more than likely whatever was the same last channel that was on, he's just watching it because it's on. He doesn't really care. I think he was watching. I forget what you guys were watching.
Wasn't it movies
He
that
had
went
been-
static eventually?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was watching movies. So
Yeah, whatever movies might be on that channel.
John slips in. I don't think I've ever seen this with you before, and he just kind of like climbs up onto the couch from like behind it so that he drops into the seat beside Dan, and he holds up a massive sleeveless like leather jacket for Dan. Try it on.
Dan gets up. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this either, and I missed the first half an hour, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on as it is.
You get messages all the time for Netflix and chill.
I don't see a lot of those. Not the messages, the movies.
Oh, put the jacket on.
I stand up, I put the jacket on.
it's a little big for you. Doesn't really fit well.
I mean, all right.
Do you think that'll fit you if you shift?
How tall is this room?
It's pretty tall.
You could shift
I shift into Dalu then while I'm wearing it.
Once you shift into Dalu, it fits great.
Big giant thumbs up towards John. I'll take the time to shift back down. Yeah, it looks like it'll fit.
All right, so I don't know how traveling realms and shifting works for you, but that's meant to help against the Beshulu.
I think it'll work. I don't know. I think you can take stuff with you in there.
There's one more thing I want to make. After that, why don't you and I hit the road, pick up your truck, and then we can get suited up for the meeting.
Yeah, I can drop the truck off over at Jesse's. Is this like formal? We're gonna need like a
That's a
suit?
really good question. I think we're going to need suits.
I mean, I got some of those in Jesse's closets.
I can also get you prepped if you need. Why don't...
You have suits that fit me here?
What are you holding?
A jacket?
I can make a suit.
You're a tailor?
All right, so John kind of gives like this slow nod to himself, and he is going to then get a like hunk of metal from like just the sets of ritual components and materials that he has, and that he is also going to shape into something specific. While he does that, why don't we do that while we're going?
Sure.
And I kind of like toss you my keys.
Nice.
Let's go.
All right. So how long you been involved in the tailoring arts? Is that something Ernie does?
Yes.
Oh.
In his hand, while like the car is going, the hunk of metal that he's holding kind of warps, bends, and starts to like shift as if he were forging something without a forge. So Dan, you do the dating thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be a little weird if I asked for some advice?
No. What do you want to know, my friend?
So, hypothetically speaking,
Sure.
say you had feelings for someone
Okay.
and had been not super great at expressing them for, I don't know, years, and how do you break the ice for that and just say it?
In this hypothetical, is it you?
Yes.
Okay. It's got some pertinent information on top of that.
Okay.
I guess other than the feelings part, can that person know about what you do?
I mean, now they can.
All right. That's good. I mean, otherwise I'd advise against it because
Because it'd be foolhardy to drag them into that kind of life.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of fucked that up already.
Okay. Hold on. Gotcha. So how would you bring that up? I mean,
I'm asking you.
yeah, I'm rephrasing the question. Standard procedure.
Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Oh, okay. Look, I mean, how far do you want to go? Like, hold on, rephrase.
Pretty far, Dan.
What I mean to say is, how far would you like to demonstrate said feelings? There's always from the classical just tell them to the grand gesture and then just tell them. It very much depends on the person.
John pauses like he's been asked an insanely complicated question.
I think it might be best you don't overcomplicate this.
Okay, then what should I do then?
Pick a time, pick a place, tell them. Sooner the better, typically. But also just be prepared for them to not feel the same way. It's not required.
Right. That part I have down.
Right. So, I mean, it's just about that. I mean, it very much depends on the person.
So what do you do?
Depends on the person.
Okay.
A lot of times I present myself as a...
Give me an example.
Give you an example?
I'm trying to not overthink this.
Okay. Give you an example. Well, a lot of times I make a conversation with a person and I listen to them and then I'm like, I'm super interesting. You're super interesting. This could work out.
Do you have someone that you really feel that way about?
That one kind of cracks the facade a little bit. Yeah, but she's not special like the rest of us. She can't see in.
How is she special?
Differently. It's been like that since more or less high school, but ever since I became a wolf, it can't work.
You keep her at arm's reach because
she can't understand the rest of my life. That's why.
So what do wolves do when they fall for someone that is an outsider?
I'm not sure. More or less, I continue living my life the way I have been. I generally work to improve the lives of the other people I deal with. Everybody can be healthier in many different ways. I protect the people around this area.
Do you think about her?
Pretty often. But it's also kind of an understanding the two of us have. She knows there's more going on. Just she's left it be. We keep in touch.
Sounds rough.
It's safer. The Bishaloo would be just like they would target our families if they knew. Some of the other spirits would do the same thing.
I get that.
And not being Forsaken or even a wolf-blooded, it's pretty tough. Wolf-blooded they have a tough time being able to see and not have the same kind of level of strength. Puts them in a vulnerability. But they hold us together. They can remind us of what it is to be a person.
So take her somewhere, say how I feel, brace for impact.
Sure. I mean, in the end, you might feel that way, but I imagine what you really want is her to be happy.
Of course.
So it'll be an understanding.
All right. You're right. Maybe it's not that complicated.
Depends on the person, but uncomplicated might be best in this scenario. Also, not where she died. Not there.
Right. A new place.
Yeah.
Check.
It's a lot of them. The quarry's great.
Okay. I'll take your advice and try the quarry.
Yeah. There's a bridge around there that not too far that crosses a river. In the evenings, the fireflies come out. It's pretty nice in the summer.
John kind of gives us a more confident nod at that suggestion. You're pretty good at this, Dan. And he kind of snaps the floating metal, the remaining pieces into place. And I'm just going to make a quick roll to...
Mm-hmm.
That is an exceptional success on casting. I will use that to recoup all of the mana that I spent and gain another +1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, with 2 successes, I will create a fighting gauntlet that deals an extra 2 levels of damage upon impact.
Sized to whose arm? Or is that like straps for adjustability and stuff?
No, it is very much so made for Aviva.
Okay.
Oh, shit, you can just do that?
Yep.
What else can you actually do?
Kind of depends on what comes to mind. Almost anything within the realms of death and matter.
I don't know.
Earthquakes, rain, change the weather, raise the dead, some of the less pleasant things are, unwholesome things towards someone's soul.
It's good to know what you have in the arsenal in case when it comes to planning.
I will try to make sure you know what I can do in a given situation if it comes up.
Oh, I mean, you gave me a pretty good idea there. Oh, by the way, I think your mother's doing something, or somebody's doing something. I think the cultists are buying silver bullets and not knowing it.
What?
Yeah, we saw them, me and Lola, but they didn't really remark on it at all. And when we bought bullets, probably the same exact type.
So the cult is being set up to fight you guys? All of us?
Maybe? I don't know. It was weird. And I meant to bring it up to your attention earlier, but then I got distracted by Jesse finding the impossible machine in the woods.
We're going to need to be really careful about this meeting. And that machine.
It's got him spooked pretty bad.
Yeah.
Never seen him like that.
No. He's usually a little more, whimsical.
Not necessarily. He's kind of a warrior at heart.
At heart. But this changed even his,
Outward demeanor? Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured I'd let you know. Because if they pull a guns for whatever reason at this thing, it's going to get messy real quick.
I'll be on the lookout for guns.
Yeah. So let's go get those suits. Wait. No,
Let's
get
get
a
your
truck.
All right.
Jesse, tell us about where you usually go when you try and avoid everyone around the new moon. Because presumably, Aviva, you're going to have to take them out there, or you guys will just walk. How are you getting there?
Do we need to borrow a car, or do you want to hop on the motorcycle, or...
Jesse kind of looks at the motorcycle and cocks his head a little bit, looks at you a little bit quizzically, and goes, all right, I guess we can ride on that.
All right. She hands you the helmet, gets on, indicates how to sit.
Is it just the one helmet?
Yeah, she doesn't have a spare.
You can hold on to this.
Nah, it's all right. Have you ever been on a motorcycle?
No.
So you need the full look. You always accessorize.
Don't try to bullshit me. Cool people don't wear helmets.
Then why do I have one?
He kind of looks at you like you just made your own grave there.
Aviva rolls her eyes and very demonstratively sets it to the side instead of putting it on.
So there's a spot on the outskirts of town. I'll show you where the trailhead is. I usually go there because not a lot of people come hiking out that way.
Yeah.
And even if they do, the spot I found is a little bit hard to get to. You kind of have to climb up some rocks and stuff like that. You don't mind going for a little hike, do you?
No, I've gotten better at those.
To be perfectly honest, when we get to the spot, I should probably just go up by myself.
Isn't that against the whole point of this?
I think you should just be nearby and just make sure nobody wanders into the area. That's all.
I mean, here's the thing. Can I actually, help you not go Caruth or whatever?
I don't think it works that way.
You can't be, talked out of it or, I don't know. As I said, I've just been basically going movie rules in my head. I don't know if it pops off when you get mad. I don't know if it,
It's tied more to the moon than anything else.
So do you know if it's gonna go or not go? Can I influence that?
I try to make sure that I'm in a spot where I can be safe if things do pop off. It doesn't always happen, but fate kind of has a funny sense of humor if I don't take it seriously.
Yeah, that tends to happen.
Here, I'll show you the trailhead. Let's head out.
Yeah, all right. She sets off once he's ready.
The motorcycle roars out of town, just out to the outskirts, out towards Union Park State Forest. You get to what is almost barely a trail, right? Out into the woods.
Yeah, I think specifically it's almost the spot that he's found is a municipal pull-off for dealing with some weird transformers in the woods that maybe lead to a cell tower somewhere else.
Yep.
Or to one of the, various kind of things they hide out in the middle of nowhere. But if you go past where the trail leads to You get to some really nasty kind of like rocky, overgrown areas that are not the best for hiking. And Jesse kind of just leads you through some clever ways around that aren't super obvious.
Before the two set off, Aviva makes sure to kind of park the motorcycle behind. If there's a couple transformer boxes around, she'll use that as like some cover for where the motorcycle's at, just in case. She's so paranoid. To make sure to take the keys and let Jessie lead the way. And Jessie, she doesn't seem like she really intends on splitting off anytime soon. She's doing what she can to keep pace with you.
And he takes them for a trek. It's not too deep. I think it's probably only maybe about 15, 20 minutes walk into the woods. But by the time that they're getting there, it's probably starting to get dark. And because there's no moon in the sky, it's very dark.
It is dark out here in a way that people who live closer to like full civilization never get to really see. The lights from Ashville still provide enough pollution, but like in this part of the state, there's not, you're nowhere near any of the major metropolitan areas. And with no moon in the sky, there are, as the sun starts to fade, even before it's all the way gone, you can start to see stars.
Aviva like kind of takes that second to like look up and see the stars that clearly. This is pretty, I imagine.
It is.
Can you see all right?
I can see about as well as anyone else. I don't know if you got super sight. How does that work?
Yeah, I can kind of extend my senses a little bit in a way that you might not be able to.
Yeah.
So,
No, you.
Thanks for coming back, I guess.
I wasn't sure if you were all that happy about it, to be real with you. I got kind of confused by, I didn't really expect to see people. I knew I had a risk of, like, seeing people I knew, right? Like, stopping by a store and having to duck behind a pillar or something, not to be spotted through a window. That's what I was thinking about. When I came back and I saw Dan, and he hugged me and everything, and that fucked with my head. But then, it was nice too, right? Like him seeing me for being me. But when we were at the cabin too, he checked, fucking reasonable, to make sure that I wouldn't put the axe through his back or whatever. And everyone had their different reactions, and I didn't really know what to make of yours.
Jesse paces around the area that he's led you to and sits down on a rock. And he kind of centers himself a little bit. And he extends his sense of touch into the Hasiel and lets his hand just float off the side of the rock, hoping something will reach out and touch him. And he cocks his head to the side a little bit. When you died, a lot of really bad shit went down. I don't know that anybody else was really keen to watching for it. Dan and I went to the funeral in Fitchfield. John kind of became distant after that, though.
There's a slight inclination of the head at the acknowledgement of the two of you going to the funeral.
It sucked because Dolores had already split off. It's not Lola's fault, but at the time we didn't really kind of see it that way.
Yeah.
Then you passed, and we might as well have lost John in that same scenario. He only really came around when he needed something for whatever the things he dealt with were.
And you were already going through what you were going through with becoming a werewolf and all that.
Yeah.
So you were stuck alone. You had Dan, but...
He's had a different relationship with finding out about the wolf side of him.
I'm sorry. You should have had your friends with you. I get that probably would have meant that you wouldn't have gotten to talk about it, but...
So why are you back? I'm sorry I'm not happier about that. I already buried you in my mind.
Yeah,
Are you just here to haunt John?
Haunt?
What's the right word for it?
I didn't think I ever was coming back. I thought it was better to let people say what you just said. To let me be dead and buried and to start a new life. And then I was trying to help my Geist figure out who she was so she could get a new life set up too. We could share that and make something out of it. Every time I tried, I couldn't really seem to find anything that gave meaning. And so we were just working from a blank and trying to find hints of who she was. I started to think that maybe I had to set the example. I had to show something of what I was, maybe so she could see that there was a way to keep yourself even when you've lost so much. And it was selfish to come back, and I didn't think I was going to be talking to any of you guys, and then it just happened, and no, I didn't mean to haunt you.
You're not haunting me. But what is it exactly that you and your Geist want? Are you two separate personalities, or are you the same?
We're different people. We're just roommates.
I'm sorry. I have a different understanding of how spirits work.
Yeah.
When I hear about a spirit attaching to another one, it's usually not a good thing. The wolf side of me is the other half of me. It's not a separate spirit that... He pauses for a second, looks like he's kind of focused his mind. He still has this sweaty glaze over his skin, like somebody who's fighting against a hangover or something like that. He takes a deep breath. But what happens, or what you've been through, normally I would call that ridden. But I've at least learned there's a lot of things in the world that aren't within the purview of the Hisiel.
Yeah. When she first appeared, offered me the bargain. Obviously I didn't understand. I mean, she doesn't speak any language that I speak. It's all muddled feelings and trying to parse it out.
Jesse nods along like that makes perfect sense to him.
I tried to share my name, tried to ask hers, ask her about why she was there, all sorts of questions. I don't even remember most of them, to be honest with you, but what I do remember is her just edging closer, holding out her hand more and more, but never making me take it. That was the important part to me. I had just refused with what was happening with John. I would have just let myself go if it wasn't a choice, but it's a partnership. I don't know how to say it better than that. I mean, I guess it's kind of like you and the grubbler. I don't know. Is that... And Aviva looks really uncertain.
The grubbler's just a friend.
Okay.
He came along when that's something I really needed. So now that you're living this new existence, are you just staying around forever?
You know, Ernie asked that when we got lunch, and I didn't really know what to say. I said something about staying for a while, but I just...
Well, those are two really bad definitions, aren't they? A while and forever. What I mean is, when does this end? If you can't die, what happens to you?
I have no idea what happens, to be real. If I don't know, say something happens to me tonight. I don't know if I just die again or what goes on with that. I'm aging. I see it in the mirror. Like, I'm not the same person who died. There's some natural or unnatural process taking hold. But I don't know how it works. I don't know how a lot of this works. So I don't really know what forever means, or... All I know is that I made a choice as to what I wanted my life to stand for, or my death. And...
Well, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I don't know where John's at anymore. Like I said, he kind of has always known about Dan and I through whatever means he knows his things. And he let us in on a little bit of what he's been going through, just to the extent that we could help him solve problems. But you having come back has sparked something with him that I haven't seen since you left. And while I'm happy to see that, I don't think you're good for him. Because you're dead. And I don't know what reason you've come back. But he's not going to let you go. And I don't think that's good for you either. I don't know that I have a good solution. But I'm worried that the two of you are gonna... I don't know what I'm worried about. But if I know John at all, and hell, heck, I could be totally wrong about this. I would not be surprised if he does some dumb shit like his mom has done to make sure that you never leave him.
So you think that I should just go?
I don't think you can.
What do you mean?
This is just my gut. But if you're back for any reason, I think it probably has to do with unfinished business. And I don't think it's unfinished business with me or Dan or Lola. If I had to guess, it would be John. His life ended when you died. He kind of got lost in his own circles. Or whatever he does. I'm sorry, Viv. I'm happy to see you again and hear your voice again and all those things, and I'm happy to see the group back together. Being at the cabin was awesome, but I'm also really worried about what this means for the way things are supposed to be, the natural order of things. You put the wolf hackles on edge. The flesh part of me is happy to see you, but the wolf is not happy to be around whatever this is.
I don't know that what I am is good or bad or any of that inherently. I don't know what it means to you. Of course, I don't know that, but I didn't come back for any one of you, really. I kind of just got surprised with the chance to have my friends again. And, I didn't think it was right to pass that up. So, I don't know if I'm good for John or good for you guys or wrong in some sort of natural or unnatural sense, but what I do know is that I have time. I have time to try to make something of. And I have to choose to make something right of it. And I'm never going to know exactly what that means. I was kind of hoping to work with you guys to figure that out. So if you got concerns, yeah, I want to hear them. Genuinely, I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't suck, because it does. But if the right thing for me to do is to let you guys just mourn and make something of yourselves, then I gotta hear that. But for now, until this is solved, you're stuck with me.
I wouldn't say that. I'm happy to have you back. There's part of me that knows there is something wrong about living this close to the dead. But I'm still happy to have you back. But I'm also under no illusion that for whatever reason you have come back, once you figure that out and try to move on, if you're not careful, John's not going to let you do that.
I don't know if it works like that, but I've helped a lot of ghosts move on now. If it's like that, if I can just, I don't know if it works like that, but if it does, will you help me make sure he doesn't do that?
I don't know enough about what power John has to promise any kind of help in that regard. But if you ask me to help you, I will do whatever I can.
A voice almost indistinguishable from the wind appears out of nowhere. To your senses, it is directly behind Jesse. It is hollow and echoing, and though it had not fully been heard consciously before, it is darkly familiar to Aviva. And all it says is, "You're right. Her being here is a quirk of fate, one that will be rectified. The best thing to do would just be to leave." And in the twilight, Aviva, because you can just see into twilight, you see for just a moment a flash of a tall, impossible-looking being, vaguely human, as if nerve endings in a human body had unraveled to become a singular entity, floating, looking at both of you, before there is a sideways movement and it is gone.
If I recognize it to be the thing that tried to possess me, it's getting a rock chucked at it immediately.
You snatch up a rock and throw it,
Mm-hmm.
and it passes through the space where the thing was just a moment before. And then moments later, off in the trees, there is the howl of a wolf. Jesse, I need you to make a roll. Resolve plus composure.
That motherfucker.
One success.
With one success, in this moment, in the middle of the woods, alone, face to face with Aviva, you know what will happen if the Caruth takes you. So you manage to hold on. In your mind's eye, for just a minute, just that second as you struggle for control, there are flashes in your mind as if put there by something else of the violence you would inflict on your friend standing in front of you. Of blood and torn flesh and body parts and screams. As if something is putting those thoughts into your head, trying to push you over. But you are made of stronger stuff than that.
Jesse doubles over and convulses in front of you.
Aviva looks like she was looking for more rocks, but she drops that as an objective and goes over to make sure that you're...
As you reach out for him, his whole body, you hear multiple bones crack, and his body swells by a factor where he starts to look Dan's size.
Aviva's going to stay ready to slip into twilight should she need, but so long as she can, she's just going to make sure that he's good. She hasn't seen the transformation this close up before, so it's going to be hard to tell, but...
He shakily puts his hands down onto the rock, and you can see that his fingers have grown in size. They are just a little bit longer than is comfortable to look at. And when he slowly looks up at you, you can see that his face has nodded, a little bit more feral looking, his eyes more animal, his teeth are sharper. You remember he took this form when you guys went into the hedge. Remember he called it Dalu. Aviva.
You good? What?
I have it under control for the moment.
Okay, good.
You need to go somewhere out of sight.
All right.
Now.
Yeah, okay. Aviva is going to follow the direction, and she's not just going to count on supernatural ability. She's actually going to go find... She's looking for, like, a good tree to climb up to physically be out of sight. She'll keep ready with her geist to bend the shroud to her need if she needs.
Roll me a stealth plus dex.
I am able to tap into 3 dots worth of fleet of foot. Does that apply in this situation? As a remembrance
From
trait.
the final girl.
Final girl.
That's fucking badass. That's so cool.
So, for the stealth check, no. It will mean that you can get to the tree line. I mean, you're in the trees, but you can get to a place to hide before anything bad happens if something bad is going to happen. When it will apply is if he loses control and finds you, then it will be a chase scene. And then you can apply that as the final girl urges you to survive and speeds you on to safety.
Got it. I will be spending a willpower for this roll. Five successes.
That is an exceptional success. So if he needs to find you, what we will do is, since it's contested, with an exceptional success, what will happen here is if he loses control and tries to find you, it's contested roll, so he will need to get 5 successes to find you. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, because of your exceptional here, you will get, if he does find you, a head start on running.
I picked out a good tree with one of the branches lines up with a way down. I can hop down between the branches pretty easily and get a running start.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's actually a little like high like cliff point that it can lead down to. So it's not even that. You also are like a whole level of ground
I got the
above.
high ground.
So I'd have to scramble up that little in like casement.
Yep. Aviva takes your word, runs off, footsteps fading as she goes to let you fight this.
Jesse, you are keeping things under control. But now that you are functionally alone, I need one more resolve composure check from you. You may add your primal urge to this as well.
So no successes. And I think I'm actually going to take a dramatic failure here.
Okay. Jesse, you have control of yourself. You have felt this before, and circumstances are weird right now. You've been having conversations with your dead friend. The town is way worse than even things should be. When you were talking to Dan earlier, like, you're in a bad place, but he makes some point. Things should not be as bad as they are. Something is wrong. All of that pressure, all of that stress, and whatever minor fracture, whatever minor crack, seeing that alien structure earlier in the He Sealed did, for a split second, you are aware of, not physical but spiritually, a tendril in your mind prying in that crack. And then you black out and lose all control. Here's how we're going to run this. Because of the presence of outside forces, alien forces, and your dramatic failure, you will now be hunting Aviva. However, while functionally you are in Caruth, the usual Caruth rules of you must destroy something and or you can spend willpower to try and stop yourself do not apply. You have one objective and one objective only. There are 4 people in town, one of which is in the woods here with you, that need to die. Start with 1, and once 1 is dead, you will try and go kill the rest. As all the worst impulses, the worst thoughts, the suspicions, the jealousies, the grudges that you have ever held against any of them, even if it goes back to like, hey, Dan got a bigger cake than me, and it doesn't matter how petty or small, they are now all that remain of your ego. Kill her. Use every trick that you have. Forgetting Ashville is an actual play Chronicles of Darkness podcast set in the fictional New England town of Ashville. Aviva Caradonna was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Dan Swanson was played by Tim Davis. Jesse Swanson was played by Garrett Gabbey. John Taggert was played by Lex Lopez. Lola Gardner was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Rob Muirhead. Recording and editing by Rebecca Steigelfest. The music used in this episode was by Victoria Borodnova. You can find their music on pixabay.com. Forgetting Ashville uses the 2nd edition Chronicles of Darkness rule sets, including Changeling the Lost, Geist the Sin Eater, Mage the Awakening, Werewolf the Forsaken, and other Chronicles source materials, with a few select house rules. The Chronicles of Darkness are produced by Onyx Path Publishing. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at @PathOfNightPod, on Facebook at facebook.com/PathOfNightPodcast, or email us at pathofnightpodcast@gmail.com. You can help support the show at coffee.com/pathofnight. See you next time, Outsiders. I will give you a little treat.
Oh, sweet.
And it's going to be fun and not at all traumatic or sad.
No, none of that. Definitely not a weird mix of both.
Like, the audience hates it when you get traumatic and sad, too. They definitely don't react positively to it. So
No.
we're not gonna...
No, they definitely don't reinforce this behavior in any way.